So our friend, whom the light of the world has touched, now receives the light of the sun and walks home in wonder. Walks home through that little town to the edge of the town and hears the sound of the television outside of the house where his family lives. He still lives with his parents or who are still together. Walks in and for the first time matches faces with the voices, not only that he sees on television, but that of his parents. He sees those for the first time. And he says, "I see you." And his parents say, "Nothing." They don't even look up. And he says, "I see you." And then they finally look up, and there is something different about his eyes. There's more focus. There is a light in his eyes. And there is a coming together that night, a reckoning with, an explaining of, an accepting of wonders. And then, what happens when a miracle befalls a small town? Well, this person finds out, and that person finds out, and then suddenly, somehow, everybody knows. This thing happened on a Sunday. A whole week goes by, and it's the next Sunday. And this family has not been to the local church for many years because it's a conservative place and they're looked down upon and they just can't stand to sit there in the pew and feel the judgment of the people. Because this happens in some churches, that there's a lot of judgment, and so they've been uncomfortable to be there. But they come this day because something very blessed has happened. And not only do they want to share it, but somehow they want to hear a word about it, have it explained through the community that gathers in faith. This is a reason that people come to church. And so they come with an openness, but with fear. And there's a murmur in the church beforehand. The pastor introduces the service. They sing the hymns. They open with the prayers. It's just like a lot of other services. And finally, they come to the time where joys and concerns, prayer concerns, will be shared in the congregation. And everybody is waiting. Everybody is waiting. They hear some regular concerns. And finally, the man who can now see stands up and says, "I've been blind all my life, but I was cured. I was cured right over there in the pond on that little farm." And there's a hush, and everybody's waiting for this to be interpreted in some way. And the council has met earlier that week because this is a big thing. And they decide to interpret it in this way. The pastor says, there are spontaneous cures. We don't know if this is a miracle. Don't know if this is a miracle because with all the sin of your family, with all of your personal sin, with who you are in this community, it doesn't seem like you are deserving of this. Another hush follows. And then there's a murmur that creeps out across the congregation. People are whispering to each other. It's that familiar murmur where people are trying to process. They've been waiting for this moment, and they thought there was a 50-50 chance that the miracle would be accepted, that something wonderful would have happened, or that this is just a weird physical change, a random event, and God was not involved. And the church has decided that God was not involved. They're deciding this now. Okay, it goes home. A week goes by, comes back, and that family is in church again. and joys and concerns roll around. And the man stands up again and says, I was cured. God came to me in the form of a stranger who I didn't see and who now I see, who is the light of the world. And there have been inquiries already to find out who this person is. And the church council and the pastor speaking for them are ready to defame this person. They've looked into this person's background. They say, this is a person without a house. This is a person who associates with lowlifes. This is a person who practices witchcraft. On and on and on, the usual arguments to deny something wonderful that has changed in the world, something beautiful that has come into the world, expressing God's grace. But the cynical arguments are ready. And because it's the kind of church that does shun people, the pastor says, and in much harsher language than this, you are anathema for receiving this gift of Satan and bringing it into this house of God. Leave now. And the family leaves. They leave. And now, our gospel lesson. I'm going to read the end of this long story, beginning with verse 35. Jesus heard that they had driven him out, and when he found him, he said, do you believe in the Son of humankind? And the man whose eyes he had opened, he said, Who is this Son of humankind, sir? Tell me, so that I may believe in him. And Jesus said to him, you have seen him. The one speaking to you is he. He said, Lord, I do believe. And he adored this presence. Jesus said, I came into this world for a certain kind of judgment, so that those who do not see may see, and those who think that they see, they become blind. Some of the Pharisees, or some of the deacons of the local church, who were with him heard this and said, surely we're not blind. We can't be blind. And Jesus said to them, if you were blind, you would not have sin. But now that you say we see, your sin remains. And we can talk about the blind spot that self-righteousness, that custom, that tradition instills in everybody. Everyone has some inkling of the truth, and something will come along, some moment of grace will happen where that truth that we believe to be foundational to our faith, our orientation in the world, that had created our whole sacred canopy, everything that we think is true, is disproved. So it happened that little town up in northeastern North Carolina. I don't want to talk about blind spots today. This is about that, and about accepting, being open to the grace that changes them. But something beautiful happens in this passage, which is that Jesus does not lay hands on somebody and cure them and then leave them on their own. Jesus remains in the community. Jesus heard that they had driven him out, and Jesus went to the person that they had driven out, went to the family that they had driven out. And all I want to say today is that that is who God is. And a miracle is not what it's often pictured to be, which is a one-time fizzle of glory that then goes away. It's something that changes us a little, and then more, and then more, and then more, because God is that shepherd who walks with us along the way. Jesus is ever present. Jesus is the light of the world. Night will come, but Jesus will return with the morning, and there will be joy then. So this week, if we perform an act of kindness, if we do what we are called to do, let's also bind that act to us. I'm working on this. Let's bind it to us. Let's wrap a little piece of twine around our finger. And after having offered, let's go back and check in. And then the next week, follow up. And the next week, follow up. And beginning with a flash of light, let's then let that light diffuse and become more and more full, more and more beautiful, so that all may see and we may see. And may it be so in the name of the one who was and who is to come. Amen.